I changed my mind. I made a horrible mistake. Tell Anthony I'm sorry.
He gonna get caught. He'll pop out on you.
Breaking. Jake Paul is seen breaking down in the locker room before the final presser. Anthony Joshua's looming presence clearly terrifies him. Confidence vanishes. Fear sets in. And it's clear he is completely out of his depth. Joshua's skill and experience
sitting in the fucking room, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, I don't even know what is Jake Paul right now, and like, where is this path? And like, I don't know what to do with my life.
Eddie Hearn calls Jake Paul stubborn and clueless about the business. Anthony Joshua is disciplined and on another level. Paul doesn't understand the stakes, and his attitude makes him an easy target. Joshua's experience and focus will exploit every weakness, while Paul struggles to even grasp what's required.
Stubborn, and he doesn't understand what the business means to us. So, again, this is not something that we do often, but we're not fucking around here.
Jake Paul is clearly struggling with the crash after his hype highs. Anthony Joshua, calm and focused, is on another level, while Paul is caught up in his own thoughts. This fight isn't about clout or social media stunts. It's a reality check. And Joshua's experience will dominate.
All these thoughts, also coming down from the high I just had, like the ultimate of highs, coming down from
Johnny Nelson points out that Paul might just be cashing out while he can. The reality is he's taking big money fights against washed up opponents, and now stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua is a completely different level. Joshua's skill, power, and discipline make this a dangerous challenge. And Paul's bravado won't protect him from getting exposed and knocked out. This could very well be the end of Paul's hype era.
Might be cashing out, because the big purses that he's pulling, fighting these has-beens or ex-fighters, they're dropping slowly but surely. So maybe, just maybe, this might be his last fight, getting in there with Anthony Joshua and getting knocked out.
He criticizes Paul's lack of judgment at pressers. Anthony Joshua's world is professional and disciplined. There's no room for stunts or foolish moves. Paul's immaturity contrasts sharply with Joshua's focused mindset. It's clear Joshua's preparation and experience will dominate any chaos Paul tries to create, leaving Paul...
I thought it was a bitch move. I really did.
Have you spoken?
I would never, if you chin someone at a presser, if you do that, it's different.
Sonnen points out that Paul's rise is built on questionable fights and hype, not real competition. Anthony Joshua is an established champion with proven victories. And Paul is stepping into a world he barely understands. Joshua's superior skill and experience will make this clear immediately, exposing Paul's weaknesses and the hype he has built around himself.
Problem that Paul ran into is when Feldman turned in a ridiculous decision, which is where Paul should have left it.
Tom Little nails the situation perfectly. Jake Paul has some ability, but when faced with a real test against Anthony Joshua, all of his hype and bravado are meaningless. Joshua's experience and discipline will expose every flaw in Paul's game. This is a fight where mental strength counts more than clout. Paul's confidence might crumble under pressure, and Little's warning that he might quit is not an exaggeration. Anthony Joshua is on another level. Calm under pressure and devastating in execution. And Paul is entering the ring far out of his depth. Fans should watch closely, because this is where true champions separate from pretenders.
I'm not saying he can't fight, I'm not saying he's rubbish, I'm not saying he's useless, but we will see how good he is. And if I'm right in what I'm saying...
Even Jake Paul admits Anthony Joshua is terrifying. Calling Joshua an animal is telling, because deep down he knows he is facing someone who operates on a completely different level. Joshua's power, skill, and composure are frightening for any fighter. And Paul's fear is obvious. This is a huge contrast between hype and reality. Anthony Joshua is a trained champion who can punish mistakes instantly. While Paul's bravado falls apart when confronted with a true heavyweight, his fear shows the gap in experience and mindset, making it clear that this fight is far more dangerous for Paul than the public realizes.
He's a fucking animal. Like, he has...
Something clearly got to him behind the scenes, showing his mental instability. Anthony Joshua thrives under pressure and would never let emotions dictate his performance. Paul's lack of class and focus only proves he is unprepared for a true champion, making Joshua the obvious favorite in this clash.
We don't know, but that really, really rattled him for him to think of and plan doing something like that.
Yeah, because we see things happen in...
Jorah doesn't mince words. Paul lacks the power to trouble Anthony Joshua, and any hope of an upset is fantasy. Joshua's heavy hands and experience will dictate the fight, and Paul could easily find himself overmatched and on the receiving end. This isn't just excitement. It's a clear mismatch in skill and strength.
It's going to be exciting.
Does he have the power to knock out Joshua?
No, he hasn't got the power to knock out Joshua.
How does that fight end?
Jake Paul went in an ambulance, bro.
Jake Paul went into an ambulance, bro. Tyson Fury's reaction shows how far Paul is from being ready. He's down, struggling, and nowhere near the level needed to face Anthony Joshua. Joshua's focus and power leave no room for a fighter like Paul, whose hype cannot cover up his inexperience and mental cracks in a fight of this magnitude.
Shockingly terrible. Yeah, shockingly, yeah. Down. Very much down. Can't shake it. Shank.
Sanchez perfectly explains that Anthony Joshua faces minimal risk and maximum reward against Jake Paul. For Paul, this is a massive challenge because he hasn't fought anyone of Joshua's caliber. Even defeats to lighter opponents like Tommy Fury show Paul's limits. Joshua can dominate this fight without serious danger, while Paul risks being exposed and humiliated. The fight is farcical in its mismatch. And Joshua's disciplined approach and proven skill make it evident that Paul's height means nothing in the ring. Fans watching will see a true heavyweight champion showcase his experience against a fighter who hasn't been tested anywhere near this level.
This kind of fight for AJ, very little risk, extremely little risk, and a big reward. I mean, why would you not take it? But as a fight fan, I thought it was a farce. I mean, Tommy Fury beat Jake Paul. It may not be, it may be a little while back, but still, he hasn't improved that much, and he hasn't been fighting anybody that's posed a problem for him.
Eugenio's reaction captures the shock perfectly. Jake Paul choosing to fight Anthony Joshua is bewildering because Joshua is a proven champion with devastating power. Paul is stepping into a world where his hype and experience mean nothing. Anthony Joshua's skill, discipline, and mental toughness create a scenario where Paul is completely outmatched. The danger is immense, and this fight will expose Paul's inexperience. Haney highlights the massive gap between a social media star and a real heavyweight champion. Fans should expect Anthony Joshua to impose his will from the start, while Paul struggles to cope with the pace and power.
I was surprised that Jake took the fight rather than Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is one of the best fighters in the world. He's a solidified champion. But I'm surprised that Jake took the fight and is fighting a guy that's so dangerous like Anthony Joshua. So I got to take my hat off to him. Because we were saying that he's fighting this person past their prime, this person's old and this and whatnot, and now he's fighting.
Eddie Hearn emphasizes how serious the situation is for Jake Paul. Pulling out of a fight with Anthony Joshua would be ludicrous considering the money and exposure involved. Paul's inability to follow through shows a lack of professionalism and mental fortitude. Anthony Joshua, by contrast, is focused and disciplined, handling the pressure with ease. This fight highlights the gap between height fighters and true champions. Paul's wavering commitment exposes his inexperience, while Joshua thrives under expectations, turning pressure into dominance. Fans can clearly see who is ready for the spotlight and who is merely playing at it.
Out with all the money that's been spent and for squeaky bum time is not the way forward. And I think Jake Paul's game.
Even Jake Paul admits the fear Anthony Joshua inspires. Joshua is a legitimate knockout artist who can end fights almost instantly. He has faced legends like Klitschko, Usyk, and Ruiz and shown devastating power. Paul's admission of being scared exposes the mental edge Joshua has. This is not hype or social media bravado. Joshua's experience, power, and precision make him a dangerous opponent for anyone, especially a fighter like Paul who has never faced real top-level competition. Fans should note that Joshua's ability to deliver fight-ending shots in seconds gives him a psychological advantage, making Paul's concern very real. This fight heavily favors Anthony Joshua from the first bell.
You fought legends, Klitschko, Usyk, Ruiz, Ngannou.
Biggest shot I have seen live.
I'm not gonna lie.
Carl Froch exposes the harsh reality for Jake Paul. Facing a true heavyweight like Anthony Joshua is completely different from fighting lighter or inexperienced opponents. Paul lost to Tommy Fury, a cruiserweight who's not even a top British fighter. That loss alone shows Paul's limits. Joshua is a big punching heavyweight with experience and power that Paul cannot handle. The fight is a massive mismatch in skill, strength, and experience. Fans watching will see Joshua dominate the ring while Paul struggles. Froch's point is clear. Paul cannot be taken seriously against a real champion. And this fight will underline Joshua's supremacy in the heavyweight division.
Heavyweight, and fake Paul's never been in with a heavyweight. Like I said earlier, he lost to Tommy Fury, a cruiserweight. He lost to him. Tommy Fury's not even British level, so you can't chuck fake Paul in with Anthony Joshua and take it serious.
Joe Rogan perfectly describes the danger Paul is in. Anthony Joshua is one of the most feared one-punch knockout artists in the world. The fight will not just test skill, but make a statement. Joshua's past demolition of Francis Ngannou shows how devastating he can be against anyone who steps in recklessly. Paul is stepping into a situation where one mistake could end everything. Rogan's insight highlights the reality that Joshua will make an example of him. Fans should recognize that this is far more than just a spectacle. Joshua's power, precision, and experience make him a...
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua's one of the biggest one-punch KO artists. What he did to Francis Ngannou, good.
David Hay perfectly captures the physical and skill gap between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Paul may be confident, but when compared to Joshua he is only operating at 15 to 20% of the real challenge. Joshua is a completely different specimen, combining size, power and athleticism that far surpasses Paul. Standing next to Joshua, the difference is immediately visible. This fight is about more than skill. It is a clash of true heavyweight mastery against an inexperienced showman. Fans will quickly notice Joshua's superior presence, strength, and timing. The physical mismatch alone gives Joshua a huge advantage, making it almost impossible for Paul to impose himself.
Jake Paul can come 15-20% in regards to Anthony Joshua. He's a completely different specimen. Look, you'll see what it looks like when they stand next.
The stakes in this fight could not be higher as Anthony Joshua prepares to step into the ring against Jake Paul. Joshua's power, experience, and status as a multiple-time world champion make him a true heavyweight specimen capable of ending fights in seconds. Every punch he throws carries authority, and Paul's past struggles against lighter and less experienced opponents reveal his limits. Mentally, Joshua is focused and battle-tested, while Paul has shown signs of fear and hesitation. If Joshua dominates as expected, it will cement his reputation as one of the most dangerous punchers in the division and expose the illusion of Jake Paul's abilities. However, if Paul somehow pulls off a shock, it would be one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. But realistically, Joshua's preparation, skill, and knockout power make him almost untouchable. Are you backing Anthony Joshua to crush Jake Paul, or do you believe in the impossible upset that could shock the world? Drop your thoughts below.